Good morning and happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm excited to be here talking about discovering your why. This is one of my favorite things to talk about as far as helping businesses and leaders and organizations find out what they're based on, what they're really here for. So we're going to go through this today, and we're going to hopefully give you some practical measures to go ahead and take and discover what your why is and find your purpose. So here we go. What is your why? What your company does and what your company is just as important as what product it produces and what service you have for it. So defining what lies at the heart of yourself and your business is very important. And so if we find that, it helps drive us through a lot more um, uh, goals. It drives us to, through adversities, things like that. So we're going to talk about finding your why, figuring out what your purpose is, and moving forward from there. Um, so let's go ahead and get going on that. Finding your why. So having a vision for your organization, your team, your business is super important. But I find the more that I research and look into figuring out how to set a vision, it really goes back to what have we done, where did we come from, so that we can be clear as to what direction we want to go. Identifying your why does take determination. It takes an effort to really look back into yourself and your business and say, what is it that we stand for? So, some questions to ask yourself when you're looking for defining your why, defining your purpose include what matters to me most or what matters to the organization most. If you can find that for yourself, it's going to be a lot easier to identify in your organization, your company, what their purpose is and how you're drawn to that particular organization. Another question is, what is the one thing I keep coming back to? Um, there's things that we do naturally well. There's things that we're very passionate about. What is the one thing that you keep coming back to that you as an individual, you see how that can help other people, how it's a benefit to those around you, and it's something that you enjoy doing. And same thing for the company. What is that one thing? Another question, what would be lost if this organization ceased to exist? What benefit to those that we serve would be lost? Um, why are we as an organization important to the people we serve? Building on that last one, what would they lose? What would the community lose if we cease to exist? And another one, and these are just a few, why would anyone dedicate their precious time, energy, and passion for our company? And so as we start to answer these questions, or even look at these questions, we can start to discover our why, which is a very deep seated thing that draws people to us. I think you and I both know that it's very fast paced world that we live in, our society especially. But uh, it's very important to stop and reflect on the things that we're going through. Um, Taking a moment, setting aside specific time to reflect on what we're going through, how things are working, what isn't working. That can actually help us be way more productive, way more efficient, and move forward instead of just getting caught in the cycle of, things are working and then something goes wrong, so we go fix it and then we just go back to the way things were. Maintaining doesn't necessarily help us grow, but taking time to reflect so that we can move forward is very important. It gives us a reference point of making sure that we are staying in our purpose and in our why, and it helps us to continue to grow that to where we want to see that vision come to fruition. The why of goals. A lot of people set goals and they're very broad. And we miss out on the reason of goals when we set them too broad. When I say I want to be better at this, or I want to feel better about that, that's a very broad goal. Goals should help not only you as an individual, but it should help grow your team culture, and it should cultivate teamwork. It should provide a clear idea of where the company is heading based on the foundation of what is our mission, right? And when I say mission, I think of mission is the reason we got started. It's the solution that we have to a problem that we saw. And our vision is, how do we grow that mission? How do we grow that purpose to be able to fulfill more of that need that we saw at the beginning, right? Um, so goals should be set in order to achieve that vision, but goals should also be used to keep us guided towards that vision. It's not that once I hit a goal, I'm done. I can say, hey, I can check that off the list. Once I hit that goal, it's like climbing a mountaintop. Once I get to the top, I see there's so many other mountains that I can go climb. There's so many other goals that I can go achieve. Same thing with goals within a company, within a team, even with it as an individual. Once I reach a goal, it should give me more capabilities to go reach more goals and to utilize that growth that got me to that particular mountaintop. So, how do we find this purposeful endeavor? Some guidelines to use. I think a lot of people have heard of, and many people do utilize SMART goals. But let's look at how we can better utilize SMART goals. So, with the SMART goal, the first two things in the SMART goal is you have a specific goal and it's measurable. And that's where a lot of people just get caught up because they don't know how to define what their goal is. And a lot of times the hard part is really finding that measurability for it, right? All measurability is we put a number to it. So instead of saying, I want to be better at this, I want to have a higher productivity efficiency, right? So then we can put a number to it as far as a percentage pointer, whatever it is, however it is that you utilize the goals and measure that. I go back to a lot of times when I was a personal trainer. A lot of people had goals of they wanted to be in better shape, right? Or that's very general. But if we get more specific as far as like I want to lose 20 pounds, that 20 pounds might be a goal in a bigger goal of being healthy, right? Of losing 50 pounds. But it's a milestone that I can look for, that I can measure progress towards, and it's something that I can continue to work for. So being specific is very important, and having something I can measure, putting a number to it in any way, shape, or form that means something to you and to your vision and to your purpose. That's what SMART goals really start off as. That's their foundation as well. The achievability aspect. So you've got specific goals, you make them measurable, and then they have to be achievable. And when I say achievable, another downfall that I've seen, and myself included, is when we set goals and they're achievable, it doesn't mean that it's something I've achieved before. Because if I'm shooting for a goal that I've achieved before, that I know I have the capability of hitting, then it's not really pushing me, right? It's just another to do in my daily schedule, right? When we talk about being achievable, it should be something that I have to grow to achieve. And that's going to help me keep moving towards my purpose, towards my why, and even towards that vision that we talked about, which is the future, right? So, SMART goals are specific, they're measurable, they should be achievable in the sense that I have to grow to them, and they have to be relevant. So, when I'm setting a goal, it has to be a goal within the scope of where are we heading as a company, as a team, where am I heading as an individual, and how is this relevant to that particular path? If I'm heading towards losing weight, and one of my goals is to be able to uh, you know let's say write a better paper, that is not relevant to what my goal is for the health aspect, right? So they might be different goals within different scopes, but it's not helping me get to the health goal that I wanted, right? And that's a very simplistic example, but the relevance has to be towards the purpose and our why, right? It has to all be drawn together. And then finally, when it comes to SMART goals, it's just the timeliness, setting a deadline. What that is for accountability, but it also ensures that we keep momentum in achieving these goals. So once I reach a goal and I hit that timeline of in 3 months, I'm going to lose 15 pounds. Awesome. I lost my 15 pounds. I hit that goal. Now I can set new goals, which keeps me moving forward. Now I can maybe change to, instead of a weight goal, now that I've hit my specific weight, maybe now I'm starting to look at performance goals, right? Maybe now instead of losing the weight, now I want to run a 10K or half marathon or compete in something. Whatever that is, those goals are timely. And as I set those timelines, it just helps me keep momentum and accountability towards them. Part of identifying your why is being able to share it with others. And the best way to do this is to get it in writing. So, a lot of companies utilize a mission statement. And I think there's a lot of benefit to mission statements. But the thing with mission statements is they can get very long and wordy. And they get a little bit more into the how we do what we do and build on top of the why we do what we do. So one of the things I like to do is, if you have a mission statement, awesome. If your team is built on a mission statement or your organization is built on a mission statement, that's great. Continue to use that. Continue to push people back to that and utilize it in such a way that it's part of your everyday communication. But one of the things that I like to do is I like to set purpose statements. And the difference between a mission statement and a purpose statement is my purpose statement gets more into the why, and it should be a lot more simplistic. It should be a one sentence. I can state this, and it encapsulates everything that we do within our mission into one concise sentence. So the mission statement goes into a little more details of how we do it. The purpose statement simplifies into why we do what we do. So how do we kind of look at that? Let's look at an example here. This is one format that you can follow. It's not the format. There's different ways of looking at it. But basically, your purpose statement should have two things in it. It should have what your contribution is or the features, and you should have the impact that those features have for the people that you're working with, whether that's customers, clients, whoever. So an example would be of a purpose statement: to engage and inspire people so that people are motivated to do something creative every day, right? They have the contribution, engage and inspire, and they have the impact so that people are motivated to do something creative every day. So they're focusing on the creative aspect. Now, if you look a little bit bigger, right, a purpose statement can be within a mission statement. And so everybody's purpose statement on a team might be a little bit different, but your organization should have its own purpose statement. Um, for example, again, going back to when I was a personal trainer, there's so many different focuses when it comes to personal training, right? I worked in a place where we had 40 trainers on staff, and every one of those trainers had a different purpose, right? Some were geared towards athletes and improving performance. Some were focused on weight loss. Some were focused on group fitness. Some were focused on metabolics. Some were nutrition, right? Uh, with the way my path was, my purpose went from helping athletes to perform better and get stronger and faster to some of the things that I went to led my purpose to more corrective exercises, which was all about helping people get out of pain, right? So even though the what we did, the personal training was kind of an umbrella, each person's specific uh, purpose statement was very different. So I went from performance to pain management, if you will, as far as within that idea of corrective exercises. So everybody, when we define what our purpose is, the purpose statement does differ from a mission statement, but it helps us to clearly get to what our mission is and what our why is. So how do we maintain our why? This is where I really enjoy working with clients one-on-one or teams and helping them figure out what is it that helps us focus on the why every single day and everything we do, whether that's the founder and the CEO of an organization or a business, or whether that's an entry level person. How do we keep everybody to those same expectations? Now, obviously, responsibilities are going to differ, but expectations can be the same across the board. So when we talk about the why, I think of the foundation of our purpose and our why as a block on the bottom, right? So um, if I look across the board, what am I built on? It's my mission. And my mission is that solution I have to a problem that I saw, and that's my mission. That's why we got started. That's the foundation of our organization or our team or our business. Now, right in the middle of that, there's a one pillar that goes up and down, and I look at that as the values of our team. And our values drive everything we do. So our values come from our why, right? So whatever your organization is, why are certain values so important, and have we identified those? Things like why is integrity important to us, or why is teamwork important to us, and why are those our top values? Even though other things are valuable to us, and we stand on other values, why are these specific ones? And I like to keep it at five or less. Why are these specific ones the ones that we stand on, and how are they connected to our why, which is connected to our mission, right? And out of that comes everything that we do. It's how we talk to each other in the office. It's how we deal with clients and customers. It's how we make decisions on who we partner with as far as other companies or businesses or organizations. Those values drive everything we do, and every day our conversation should be around those values, which are directly related to maintaining our why. So if we get that in our day-to-day conversation, then maintaining the why becomes a lot easier because it just becomes a part of who we are, not this idea of like, oh yeah, I have to add that in. It should be an underlying thing for everybody. Stay close to your why. So again, being engaged daily in your why helps us to build performance. It helps us to build efficiency. It helps us to build the culture that we want to build. So if we're staying close to the why, and as leaders specifically talking about those values on the daily, right? Like keeping each other accountable, holding each other to integrity, focusing on teamwork, or maybe one of the things that we focus on is education, so that our people are constantly learning like the newest ways of doing things in our industry. Those are ways that we can stay close to our why. And again, it goes back to the mission, which is the foundation, and then the values, which is our pillar. I always say it's our measuring stick, right? And so when we stay close to our why, that builds into our culture. Like, how do we want people to think about or be in our business or in our team, right? And even within a business, the culture from department to department might be a little bit different because of the different focuses that they have. So that's how we can continue to stay close to our why. Is no matter who it is we're talking about, and we're putting that in front of each other, right? Maybe it's something we do have on people's desks, or we print out and have something, up on the wall of these are our values, and our values drive us to our why of our purpose. What are we here for? Commitment to a common purpose. Sharing your why with the consumer is not enough to carry the message to your teams, right? So here we look at the pillar of values. Those values, we're going to measure our um, culture against our values, but we're also going to measure how do we deal with our customers and our vendors. That's also going to be filtered through our values. So everything we do goes back to that one pillar, or that pillar of five, if you will, of how are we going to do this. So when people come onto the team, like these things are shared, and that's how we stay committed to this common purpose, because the purpose is our why, which goes to all five of those particular values. And again, it goes inside the company and it goes outside the company. And as we continue to uh, look towards the future, that mission just becomes more clear in that purpose. And so that leads to our vision of where are we taking this thing, right? Where are we growing this? So our mission can stay the same, and our vision is just where are we taking it? Where are we growing that solution to help touch more people? Um, Having people understand the purpose statement versus the mission statement also will help, because it's very concise. It's something that's way more memorable than the mission statement. Just because the mission statement can be very detailed, the purpose statement is a little bit bigger picture. Putting the why in your team. Um, Having things in front of people is very is very important. So if we can clearly state and provide information about what our mission is, that means that we can be much more clear on what our purpose is, right? And so this will lead to more of a collaborative atmosphere. And when we're talking about collaborative atmosphere, when people are drawn to us or drawn to our organization, a lot of times they're drawn to the mission and the purpose of why we're doing what we do. And a lot of times, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit organizations, people come and they're so bought into this big picture mission that they're like, I'm willing to do anything, right? But when we're talking about a collaborative atmosphere, building that culture that sets us apart, it means that we're taking people and utilizing their strengths within their purpose, which is part of a bigger purpose, and we're helping them stay in their strength zone. So what does that look like? I like to use the basketball analogy here. So if I'm on a basketball team and we're playing man-to-man defense, that means I'm going to be matched up with one particular person who's pretty similar to my skill set, my size, things like that, right? So like guards are on guards, so speed on speed, or post on post, meaning big guys to big guys, right? But what happens if something happens where we have to switch and a little guy's on a big guy and a big guy's on a little guy, right? Now all of a sudden we're at a disadvantage. Now those players or those team members, they're more than happy to put in the effort to try to do what they need to do to play defense against that person. But we're no longer in our strength zone. We're no longer in an advantage. Now we're at a disadvantage because even though I'm bought into trying to win the game, I'm not in a position to do what I do best. So when we're talking about collaborative, it's making sure that we keep people in their strength zones as often as possible. Sometimes we do need help across the board, across departments and things like that. But being collaborative means we're working within those strength zones. Um, Another thing is having a learning environment. Again, making sure that people have the resources to continue to grow and do what they do even better. And this will lead to ensured results. So when I have people in strength zones, as a team, we become much more explosive, right? We can expound on things. We can multiply our productivity and our efficiency. Whereas if I'm constantly in that, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do. That's great as far as the attitude, but that's the type of thing that leads to burnout because our productivity goes down. At best, we get a one-to-one return. At worst, we just maintain where we're at, which we aren't growing at that point. So we want to ensure results by keeping people in strength areas so that we continue to move forward and grow. That will help build momentum, and that's one of the things that will help stave off burnout because people are doing things that they are capable of doing, but they aren't doing things that they're gifted at doing. The why, how, and what of marketing. So one of my favorite people to read on this particular subject is Simon Sinek, and this is where the why, how, and what comes from. If you've ever, or if you haven't ever listened to Simon Sinek, there's one of the biggest seen clips on YouTube. It's called the Golden Circle, which he explains very very clearly. So basically, what it is there's three concentric circles. In the very middle is why. Why do we do what we do? That's what people are drawn to. So when he talks about marketing and sharing our why or trying to make the sales of our product or service or getting people bought in, they're drawn to the why. And he says that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, right? So in the middle is our why. And if we can really, really promote that and make that clear, people are going to not only be drawn to us, but they're going to stay with us. The middle circle is how we do what we do. So we might do the same thing as other companies or other teams, but do it completely differently. That's just how we do it. That's how we get to the end result. And then the outer layer is the what. So a lot of teams get stuck on the what we do. Maybe they get into the how we do it and how that's different. But if we talk about why we do what we do, we're now talking about the benefits of how are we helping people, right? So when we talk about marketing, we can go from selling people to helping people. And Jerry Weiss actually wrote about this in his book. And the way he says it is there's a difference between features and benefits. When we talk about features, we're talking about facts. We're talking about the what, the outer circle. But when we talk about benefits, it's how does that feature help or benefit the person that we're working with, the customer, the client, or whoever. So if we can focus on the benefits and in our marketing, a lot of people are drawn to that more so than they are the facts or the figures of it. So utilizing the why over the what is super important when it comes to sharing our purpose and our mission to specifically to customers, but even to those that might be interested in joining our team. Finding meaning in the struggle. I'm sure like all of you and like myself, we've all gone through struggles, right? And again, it's one of those things where our lives are so busy, when a struggle happens, it throws us way out of whack. So how do we get through a struggle in light of keeping our purpose in front of us, right? Our why in front of us. When we have that clearly defined purpose, it helps get through the struggles a lot easier. What we find is that it gives us more direction, right? Often the problem that we're going through and the struggle is much shorter than the solution that we have, as long as we stay focused on that why or on that purpose, and that will help guide us to a solution. Have you ever found yourself dealing with the same issue time and again and again and again? Um, we've often been told that it's the experience is the greatest teacher. Well, I can experience the same thing time and again and have the same result because I don't change anything, right? John Maxwell himself says experience is not the greatest teacher. Reflected experience is the greatest teacher. So I need to look at what I'm struggling through, especially if I struggled through it before, and reflect on why am I going through this again? How can I respond or react to it differently so that the next time I deal with this, it can be a lot shorter or I can avoid it altogether, right? Maybe I see what that trigger is that gets into the struggle of me striving for new goals in my purpose. So taking that time again to reflect, like we mentioned earlier, especially within the struggle, to slow down, respond instead of reacting emotionally, and then getting through that so that the next time we see it, it's a lot easier to get through. Make your why a reason to give back. So as we start to define these things and we build the values and we define the values and say this is what we're going to hold each other accountable to, and we build that culture of what's happening inside our organization, now we start to grow and we start to have a reason to give back to our communities and to the families of those who are part of our team. Um, it means we're trying, when we're running out of our why, it means we're trying to make a difference in the environment within the company, but also outside of the company, right? So it's important to give back, and finding people and organizations that align with our purpose. And so no matter the service or the product, the more that we um, give that, the more that people will come to get that from us, right? So that's one thing I've learned is growing a coaching business is the more that I gave away, even as a personal trainer, the little tidbits that I gave away, it showed people what my purpose was, and they came back asking for more and wanting to purchase more, right? So finding your purpose helps give you a reason to give back to the larger community. So how do we give back? A couple of things we can help do. Find a cause or an organization, maybe a nonprofit that aligns with your why, right? Partner with a cause connected to your product or service. Um, a simple example would be a company that manufactures glass water bottles getting involved with plastic recycling or plastic cleanup in the ocean, right? It's all connected to the same why. When we're giving back, get team members involved as well. Help them to see the connection between our purpose and our why, and how giving back to a specific portion of the community is going to be helpful in us continuing to grow. Um, and then maybe we use volunteer as a team building opportunity, right? Getting us outside of our comfort zone, getting us outside of the comfort or the familiarity of the office or our environment, and getting out into the communities to see that what we do does make a difference outside of just the people we see as clients or customers. And then educate, right? I'm a learner. It's one of my top five strength finders. So when it comes to educate, there's one thing I'm pretty passionate about because I love taking in new information and I love sharing new information. So I'm constantly bringing new stuff to my clients and to these webinars. So how do we use the education part to make to be a part of our mission, to be part of our purpose? Embrace failures. So after when we talked about giving back and growing, embracing failures. It's very easy when we bring somebody in to educate or to inspire. It's very easy for them to start talking about successes, especially if they've been through struggles and now are seeing success. Because when we share our successes, it's like we're trying to impress people, and that's human nature, right? But if we're really trying to connect with people, we need to personally embrace our failures and share our failures and how we overcame those failures to get to the successes. That's going to help people understand that wherever they're at, there's a way through. Maybe they see a solution that they didn't think of before. Maybe they come up with a new idea how to get through their current failure, or the things that they've been struggling with to get to the other side, to get to success. Staying connected to that purpose, like we continue to talk about, will also help you um, as you address your failures, right? It's going to help you get through, continue to move past those failures so that more and more success happens. Um, One important thing, especially as leaders, is to build a habit of looking at failures with your team to determine what changes are needed. Embrace the idea that failures are a good thing, right? Failures are part of success. Failure and success are not on opposite ends of the spectrum. Failures are on the path to success. So, what do your people expect, and what can they look forward to? And I didn't do this well, or this didn't come out the way that I needed it to. That's okay. Like, what did we learn from it, and how does that then take us towards our goal? Do you have that as part of your culture, or is part of the culture where success is detrimental and to be avoided at all costs? That's not very collaborative when it comes to team building. The power of feedback. So we talked about earlier, if we have these values set, now we have a measuring stick, right? So everybody can be accountable to the same measuring stick. So when it comes to feedback, I, as a leader, whether that's again a mid-level manager or the CEO or owner or a entry-level person, the feedback is super important. The more I am open to feedback as someone who's a leader, an owner of an organization, the more that's going to be done across the board, down to the frontline people. So having somebody that you can trust, that you can be open with, and they can be open with you, is very helpful to utilize constructive criticism and this feedback so that we're constantly growing. We're never getting caught up in well, this is how I do things, or this is who I am. Once we start to get into that, we start to get in that fixed mindset of not growing anymore, then we start to kind of flirt with troubles. So what are some good times for us to ask for feedback? Um, Often before or after company meetings is a great time, so that maybe before we're prepping so that we're a little bit more aware of what's going on the team. After, maybe how was it received, and how could I better make that a connecting point for my people. Annual reviews, quarterly, or even in the moment, if you have built that rapport with somebody that's part of your business, and they have that openness to come and share things with you, that's great, because then it shows that you're open as a leader. You're open as someone who's trying to grow the people in the company as well as grow the company. But also remember, your response to feedback is just as important as asking. And so that can be, setting boundaries as to when the best time for you to receive feedback is. Because if we get defensive, then other people are going to also be defensive when feedback is given to them. So we want to be cognizant of that. Another idea of slowing things down a little bit is celebrate your milestones. I know that this is something that I am not very good at right now. Is when something big happens, I kind of take it in stride. It's like it's part of my day that I worked hard, I accomplished this. Now I can work hard again and accomplish more. But celebrate your victories. Those teams that will slow down not only to reflect and do things better when they've been through an experience, good or bad, but those that take time to celebrate victories, they maintain people. They um, have lower turnover rates, and we all have seen it, in many companies these days. Turnover is super high, and it's continuing to increase because uh, a lot of organizations just focus on productivity. They don't focus on how do we grow our people. They don't focus on, celebrating. They don't focus on building that culture. In the end, what separates you, right? If if one of your employees gets an offer that's a little bit more than what they're making for you, what would drive them or encourage them to stay at your company, right? Celebrating and showing that you not only value people for their capabilities, but you show appreciation for them makes a huge difference. And these could be, individual milestones. These could be team wins. These could be celebrating the fact that we finished and got out a project on time, and it was better than we expected, and the customer loves it, right? Um, and there's different ways of celebrating. Some people like that public praise and appreciation, being brought up in front of everybody and people clapping for them. Some people don't like that, and in fact, they dislike it so much that when you do that, it actually dissipates what they accomplish. So maybe it's more of a small bonus given to them personally, or a card that means something to them, right? Um, Team celebrations. Maybe you take half a day off and you go celebrate with your team at a happy hour or a team barbecue or something like that. Or just having times where we don't have to focus on work and purpose because we've accomplished something big. We take time, we celebrate it, and we utilize that so that once we get back to work, now we know that we can move forward and move to something even greater. So, with that being said, we talked about mission and purpose and building team culture and how all those things are built on our why and our purpose. Now you can go take these things and utilize them and work on them because, like I said, it is going to take time. It's not something you can just sit down and do. But if you have a good foundation, it's a lot easier to start to see how these things come together. So you can go do these things. And so this is, like I said, one of my favorite things to talk about because I just see the impact it makes from an individual who's maybe going through a career transition or moving up in a company or moving up to a opportunity, not even within a company, but just growing themselves as an individual. It's very powerful, and so I'm excited that you joined me today and got to listen to this. Hopefully, if you have questions, I'm here to answer. Um, so again, thank you for joining me today. This is one of my top probably three things to talk about. And so if you have any questions, if you'd like to know more about how I could help as far as Rising Tide, um, helping you identify what is your purpose, what are your values, what are the things that you want to do, please reach out. You can reach me either on Facebook, you can reach out on the page, or reach me at Elijah at coachelijah.com. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of me. And if you're looking for more resources, some great authors to look at, like I mentioned, Simon Sinek, he's a great one. John Maxwell, I'm obviously very tied to him because of my certification with him. Uh, Patrick Lencioni, he's a great one too. He tells kind of modern day fables and stories and then extrapolates. And a lot of them have to do with culture and team building and things like that. And getting to our why, getting to our purpose. He's a great one. And then another one that I really like, he focuses on more the framework of an organization, a guy named Gino Wickman. And if you look him up, look for the Traction series. There's a bunch of books in there that are very powerful and can be utilized for building that framework that you can really start to develop strategies within. So again, thank you. Have a great day, and hopefully we'll be hearing from you soon.